Patrick's fans, welcome back to another edition of Caglianone's Corner. I'm joined here today by head coach Lenny Caglianone. And Lenny, we just came off of an impressive shootout win against the Maine Nordiques. Tell us about some of the positives that came out of this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could look at it from a period standpoint. I thought first period executed our systems really well. Second period, I talked to Lexi last night about that, just trying to stack some shifts. I thought it was tough because the PKs that kind of stunted our ability to be fluent throughout that 20. But I thought we were great. And then third period, we started off with a 4-on-3, which they ultimately scored on. And I highlighted it yesterday. I thought the refs tried to, put their prerogative in the game narrative, but overall, I thought we overcame a lot of adversity. I thought we didn't panic. Highlighted the shot count as well. I know it was in favor of Maine, but I think a lot of their quality opportunities came on that 5-on-4 situations. Those 5-on-4 situations in the second period. But listen, it's just we're a very similar team in regards to the systems that we run. I tip my cap to Nick. He does have them very structured. And, it was kind of the ideology going into the game, the approach, like, hey, this is a team who runs the same stuff. We know how to counteract our own systems, so let's do it. And I thought we stayed consistent with that. And I was really happy with the buy-in level as well throughout the 60, right? We go down. I think guys started to deflate a little bit, but all it takes is a couple identities just to kind of grease the wheels, and I thought that was exactly what we did.
Absolutely, and coming out of the New Hampshire weekend wasn't really our weekend. That Saturday, though, lost in OT. However, Ryan Lukko picked up his first 2 goals of the season, then picked up a goal last night with the shootout winner. Tell us about him. What's been going on? What kind of fire has been ignited in him?
Yeah, I mean, again, that's something I touched on with Lexi, and he's going through some personal narratives here, some adversity situations, and I think he's turned that into fuel for his passion, his fire, and we knew what we were going to get with him in regards to his offensive capabilities. He's inclined to be on that other side of the puck, the north side of the puck, and we just need to clean up some south stuff. But his defensive zone has increased in regards to his awareness and his stick presence, and it's allowed him to now open up some other conversations on the other side of the puck, on the offensive side of it, and it's been good to see. Like, you don't want to see anybody go through adversity away from the rink or within the game, and for him to be able to come and offload that before he walks into the rink, and I wouldn't say check his ego, but check some of the baggage at the door. And to see him overcome and battle through some of the stuff that has happened, he's just, he's a high character human being, and he's been pliable, he's been vulnerable with me, and allowed me to coach him in a way that I think is progressive, and he's very well liked in that room as well. I think he's a huge conversation piece for us. I think he has a lot of humility in his game, and we talk about the relationship with our guys a lot, and the immaturity factor and stuff like that. And I think for him, he's starting to shed some of that immaturity in game, and it's certainly showing success-wise for him to now capitalize on some of his opportunities. I mean, that first goal that he scored yesterday, you don't see someone make some of those plays unless they're operating with confidence and they're at their most optimal. So it's just really good to see him kind of excel and explode in that sense. And you wait for guys to do that, right? Like, we are 21 games in. So third of the season is tucked away, and you have to see growth with guys. We're no longer just crawling. We have to start walking, then running, and I think that we are trending in the right direction. And for him, he's just a micro narrative that is part of our macro narrative. We gotta give guys time to kind of blossom, and I think he's doing it at the right time.
And as of right now, currently in the 3 games we played against Maine, we're 2-1 against them. I mean, that's huge considering they're first in the division. And what does that mean for you as head coach?
For me, I mean, like, listen, I don't hang my hat on anything. I don't feel accomplished ever. And I think that's the hunger that the guys are starting to see, right? Like, listen, it's great to check some boxes and get some notches there, but it just reinforces that the amount of time and effort that myself and Dino and the rest of the staff, our player personnel, our GM, all the hours that we sink into maybe some of the intangibles of running a functional team, it does create a light at the end of the tunnel, right? And it shows that we can show up when we want to, and that's just the biggest thing. It's a double-edged sword, right? You realize that at the end of the day, you could play some of those teams that are in the top end of the conversation, and you could do well, and you could fare well against them. And it's just more so about finding your stride, right? I think that's the biggest thing for us is just, hey, what's our ground floor, what's our ceiling, and can we raise our basement when we're at our worst?
And then this weekend, we're on a bit of a bye. However, when we come back, we're going to finish out the month of November at home against the Maryland Black Bears. We haven't faced since September, which ended with us getting swept by them. However, some close games there. What's going to be the narrative in the room going into that weekend?
I think you touch on some of the downtime that we have now. I mean, we've been going 6 days a week since August, right? Since we got here, our feet touched the ground in Danbury, and I think, listen, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm always transparent. We would love to have some Mondays off, but we have to earn it. I think that's a huge part of our cultural foundation. Is just, there's no freebies. You have to earn some of that time off, and I think considering. I think it's the past 13 games, we are 500, I would say.
Yeah.
Maybe that shootout loss puts us a little bit behind that, but for the most part, we are, and it's showing growth from the start of the season. So I think it's a little well-deserved, and it gives us time to have some of that roster evaluation, right? We're a third of the way through. I think it gives us that downtime to really put some extra protein into going back, watching some few games, seeing the things that we could improve on, seeing areas or identities that we can improve on. It allows us some reflection time, but most of all, it gives our guys who got to go out there and perform some quality recovery time. And I think that's super important, mentally, emotionally, and physically. We talk about that. That's a fluent triangle in our room, right? You can't have one without the other two, so on and so forth. And I think it's a good recharge for our guys. And then going into the Maryland game, right? The first time we played them, we were super inexperienced and still young, but less traction there, less moss on the stone, and still managed to bring them to overtime. And then the next day, I thought that Saturday game we were subpar, but we're playing, a team that. Respectfully, as was the number 2 team in the league last year, right? So I think there are very big bright spots to look at. I think there's a lot of narratives that you could buy into. But, again, we talked about some of the trends in our room in regards to maybe over-preparing. And I think we hit our stride with Maine with that, where it's an opponent that, again, runs the same systems. And then we go into Maryland where they're super trappy. They're very structured in regards to stacking their shifts in zone, and that's something that we're going to have to adjust to. So it's a lot of time in the lab for myself and Dino, and just to go and make sure that we're checking the boxes to counteract whatever they're going to try to do. And there is an extent of respecting your opponent, but I think the biggest thing is making things personal at this point. Like. When we make things personal, we have a good result, and I think that we have to start doing that a little bit more.
Well said. And fans, once again, we're on a bye weekend this weekend. However, next weekend we'll be back at home to finish out the month of November against the Maryland Black Bears, starting off with a Friday game, November 22nd, 7 p.m. puck drop. You can buy your tickets at the door for $10 a piece. Kids under 16 get in free, and if you have your Connecticut high school ID, you get in for free as well. But Lenny, thank you for your time today, and enjoy the weekend.
Yeah, you as well, Pat.
Thank you.